For reaction, let's welcome in Republican strategist and 2016 Trump campaign senior advisor John Elliott and Republican strategist and chairman of the Fort Bend County Republican Party in Texas, Bobby Eberle. Bobby, I want to begin with you. Despite the support of Trump, Republican Congressman Chip Roy says Johnson doesn't have the votes. Do you think he and his allies just want to negotiate, or do we think that Johnson has a real problem here?
I think it's a little bit of both. I mean, going into that continuing resolution, the last thing that we needed coming off the election high was another pork barrel 1,500-page bill. And it really shocked people into realizing or remembering that, hey, these last 2 years under Johnson were a lot of hit and miss, a lot of controversy around him, criticism. And now, you know, that just brought it all to the surface. We could pass a 100-and-something page bill rather than 1,500. That was a very bad way to go into this speaker vote, and he could only lose one. Thomas Massie is a guaranteed no, and I think that the House wants to exert a little muscle of its own. The mandate is clearly Trump. Public support is clearly Trump. But the House is an independent body, and there might be a little bit pushing back before it's all said and done.
Yeah, Bobby, I think you're right. And John, you know, Republicans, they've been down this road before with Kevin McCarthy, of course, and that 15 rounds to finally get the votes to become speaker. I mean, how damaging could this be for the Republican Party if they go through this all over again?
Well, Alex, that's the key question, is that this is absolutely damaging, because the difference with McCarthy and what we have here is that Republicans did not have the presidency at that point. And so we just don't have time. The President Trump does not have time for anything like a long, protracted fight at all like this. That's why President Trump has endorsed Mike Johnson very strongly, because he knows that, hey, we can't have maybe the perfect speaker that everybody wants, but we need to get somebody through there so that they can, number one, they can certify the election results on Monday, but number two, that they can hit the ground running on day one on January 20th and just push in a raft of bills. For example, if the president wants to spend money to finish the wall, which probably takes about $10 to $12 billion, that Congress needs to direct that money on day one. And so that way he can start building the wall. He can have the money to do that, because obviously that wasn't passed in the last Congress. But now you've got the Senate and the House and the presidency. So the last thing we need right now is to have some ideological fight over let's not make the perfect the enemy of the good here. Let's just say, look, we need to get behind anybody as speaker who has the trust of President Trump. And he's been very clear about that. So has Elon. And this is something where, look, let's have ideological fights down the line, but let's get our person in place who can direct the president's agenda from day one.
You know, to John's point, Bobby, you know, they got a small window to actually start getting things done. And, you know, even though it's a 2-year Congress, it's really maybe 6 months that you actually get before they start focusing on the midterm elections and basically doing the messaging bills on both sides. So if they waste any time on this and this protracted fight, you really set the president's second term off on the wrong foot, potentially derailing his agenda.
That's right. I mean, and that's the point. John made a great point there, is the House, on my side, you know, they want to exert some independence. They want to say we're a separate branch of government, but we got to get things done in this window and let the Trump momentum keep on going. One thing where I tend to push back a little bit is that the McCarthy fight, the 15 rounds, you know, took an extra 3 days. We do have to certify the election this time, so we don't want it to impact that. But to hash this out and to be, you know, united going in, I think the debate, the discourse is good, but I think they will rally around Johnson and get this agenda going so we can have border security, maybe some tax cuts that the Democrats can agree on too, like Social Security and tips and other big items that we can set the ball in the first 100 days, get it off to a good start and carry the momentum from there.
Yeah, and John, you know, Bobby just said, let's keep that Trump momentum going. I mean, and Trump has even said that he would make calls for Johnson if he does not have enough votes. How do you feel about that, John? You know, is this something the president-elect should be getting involved in?
Well, absolutely, because he needs to. No one has more credibility in this party than President Trump. President Trump has control over the Republican Party for one reason, is that he took a party that was a Mitt Romney, go-along, uniparty, globalist party from back 4 years before he ran in 2016, and single-handedly over the last 8 years, mainly between 16 and 2020, he single-handedly moved the party into a populist America First direction, that it was always a country club party. So now the grassroots, the people across the country who voted Republican in record numbers, and you're talking about blacks, you're talking about Hispanics, others who are all behind the president, they're looking to him to say, what do we do now? And look, I have huge issues, just like Bobby does, about Mike Johnson, whether it's on Ukraine or spending out of control and having that 1,500-page bill instead of something that's streamlined. I actually have a big deal with the fact, and Mark knows this, about that they didn't raise the debt ceiling. That's something they should have done on Biden's watch. They weren't able to get the votes to do it. But look, we have an agenda. It's an American First agenda that comes directly from President Trump, and we need to have that enacted on day one. And so let's not, once again, make the perfect the enemy of the good, and everybody should get behind Mike Johnson and follow President Trump's lead.
Oh, absolutely. We'll see how it plays out. John Elliott, Bobby Eberle, thank you. Happy New Year to you both.
All right, friends, thanks again for tuning in. I really appreciate it. And before you go, please hit that subscribe button above. Once you do, tell your friends, share it, spread the word about the 13-minute news hour so we can keep growing. And for more great content, check out these videos right here, and I'll see you next time.